Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, spirits. Today is Sunday morning, August 28th, and we give a welcome to everybody who's here with us, incarnates and disincarnates, and those that are watching us via YouTube. As everyone hopefully knows, Becerra de Meneses is a nonprofit. We're a Spiritist association. We function strictly through contributions and donations, which means that nobody here under this roof receives any type of remuneration. And we are 501c3 with the IRS. If you would like any type of information, you're welcome to log into our website, which is www.spiritist.com. You can send an email to info@spiritist.com, or you can call 305-477-4148. And by the way, our mission is to study Spiritism and promote the practice of spiritual and material charity. This morning's gospel and every morning's gospels that we have on Sunday mornings are transmitted live on YouTube, and you can log in by going to www.youtube.com/Becerra Miami. Today we have the blessing that we get to study our dear beloved Chico Javier's teachings through the book Our Daily Bread by the Spirit of Emmanuel. And chapter 6 is entitled, Make Use of the Light, which comes from the book Our Daily Bread. Walk while you have the light, before darkness overtakes you. The man who walks in the dark does not know where he is going. This is from Jesus through John, chapter 12, verse 35. A person who meditates will come across divine thoughts when analyzing the past and the future. He will find himself situated between two eternities, the days of yore and the days yet to come. By examining the treasures of the present, he will discover precious opportunities. In the future, he will be able to foresee a blessed light of immortality, while in the past, he will perceive the shadows of ignorance, of malpractice errors, and badly lived experiences. The great majority of humans possess no panoramic with regard to either a close or remote past, except that of ruin and disenchantment, which compels them to reevaluate the resource at hand. In spite of being transitory, human existence is the flame that places each one in contact with the service needed for a just ascension. With this blessed opportunity, it is possible to redeem, to achieve, to conquer, to unite, to reconcile, and to enrich yourselves in the Master. Reflect on this observation of Jesus, and you will perceive his illuminated reasoning. Walk while you have the light, he said. Take advantage of the gift of time. You have been given it in edifying work. Stay away from inferior conditions. Acquire higher understanding. Without showing signs of improvement and betterment during the march ahead, you will be dominated by darkness. This means you will annul your sacred opportunity and revert to less worthy impulses, thus regressing after death of the body to the very shadows from which you previously emerged, with the intent of conquering new peaks on the sublime mountain of life. For reflection about today's reading. In today's reading, Emmanuel reminds us of the need to meditate, because in doing so, divine thoughts will enable us to analyze the past and the future. He mentions how he can discover precious opportunities for the future by examining the treasures of our present. He alerts us of how we should take advantage of this life to redeem, to achieve, to conquer, to unite, to reconcile, and to enrich ourselves in the Master. Are we trying to better ourselves in the march ahead? We need to ask ourselves that. Are we walking towards the light before darkness overtakes us? That's food for thought that we need to see. Do we want to be in the shadows or do we want to be in the light? It's our choice. And we invite everybody to take a deep breath, to get in contact with all those sweet, joyful, pure blessings that are here for our disposal as we give glory to our Father, to our Creator, as we embrace our teacher and our consoler, our perfect role model, Jesus Christ, as we give gratitude to our dear Dr. Becerra de Meneses, to our spiritual guides and our spiritual mentors, to our guardian angels, and to all those that make it possible for us to come here every Sunday morning to learn and listen to the teachings of our dear Jesus Christ. We ask you, dear Lord, to permit us to give our deep, profound gratitude to all that beautiful team. We ask, dear Lord, for those that are not able to use their free will to be able to learn, to live, and to walk in the light of Jesus. We also ask, dear Lord, for our dear brother Allen Sanabria and his entire Sanabria family, that he may be enlightened with Jesus' teachings today and always. And we ask you, dear Father, to remain with us through Jesus, today, tomorrow, and always. And all these things we ask in his name. Amen. As most of you know, Alan Sanabria is a worker of our Becerra de Meneses home. He participates in the English study. He has also been a teacher. He forms part of the mediumship team. He helps with the IT. He has a beautiful family whose children come to the evangelization. His wife forms part of the evangelization group. So he definitely is a Becerra worker. And it's with great love that we welcome him today. He's going to speak to us on chapter 15, which is a very, very important chapter for the Spiritist doctrine. Without charity, there is no salvation. So let's welcome our brother Allen.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So today we're going to speak about charity. As students of Christ and of his doctrine, we all know that charity is probably one of the upfront, most talked about parts in all the different evangelists like John, Matthew. So today we're going to talk about how charity and what it means in Spiritism, and as followers of Christ. As you see here, we have three very important people: Spirit, Christ, Chico, and the Blessed. And you can see that they all love charity, right? Smiling. And a little quote on the bottom by Henry Wadsworth: "The life of a man consists not in seeing visions and in dreaming visions, but in active charity and in willing service." Right? Because we have to remember that charity is not just a form of contribution. All the fruits of the Spirit, which we are to lay weight upon as evidential of grace, are summed up in charity or Christian love, because this is the sum of all grace. And the only way, therefore, in which any can know their good estate is by discerning the exercises of this divine charity in their hearts. For without charity, let men have what gifts you please, they are nothing. Right? So it's a very deep quote, beautiful quote. But when you analyze it and analyze Christ, his teachings, you cannot take whatever you do in this life to the afterlife. You can live a comfortable life, you can live your life well off, or you can live poor. The only thing you can take is your actions. and your actions is what's worth diamonds and gold. Now when the Son of Man comes in his majesty, accompanied by all the angels, he will sit on the throne of his glory, and all the peoples being gathered before him, he will separate them from one another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. And the king will say, to those who are on his right, come you who are blessed by my Father, take possession of the kingdom that has been prepared for you since the beginning of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me to drink. I was in need of shelter, and you sheltered me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to see me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you to eat, or thirsty and gave you to drink? When was it that we saw you without a shelter and sheltered you, or without clothes and clothed you? And when was it that we saw you sick or in prison and came to visit you? And the king will respond to them, truly I say to you, as often as you did it on behalf of the least of my brothers, it was to me that you did it. Now next to those who are on his left, he will say, away from me, you who are cursed. Go to the eternal fire that has been prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, you did not give me to eat. I was thirsty, you did not give me to drink. I needed shelter, you did not shelter me. I had no clothes, and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. Then these two will reply, Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry, thirsty, or sick in prison, and we failed to help you? But he will respond to them, truly I say to you, as often as you fail to render this assistance to one of the least of these, you fail to do it for me. And they will go to eternal punishment, and the righteous to eternal life. Matthew 25:31-46. As you see, when Jesus speaks about charity, he doesn't speak on his own behalf. He speaks on the behalf of others. Because you could donate money, you could be charitable to yourself. You be charitable to your children, to your brothers, to your sisters, to your aunts, your best friends. But how charitable are we to the ones we do not know? To the ones that we just walk by every day and not pay not a single minute of attention to that person? Or to the people that we have angered or have angered us, how we ignore them though they need us? Christ is telling us that we need to be charitable to everyone, not just the ones that we love and hold dear to our hearts, right? To the ones we hate, that we shouldn't hate. But we need to be charitable to every person, regardless of the situation. True charity is the desire to be useful to others without thought of recompense. You know, a few weeks ago, when I was in California, I was speaking to a coworker who became a very good friend of mine, very similar beliefs. And he was saying to me, Allen, I love helping people during everything, but I can't forgive this one person. And I said, why? Because every time this person needed me, I was there for them. Every time. I never asked them for anything. Never asked to pay me back, but I was always there for them since childhood. And the one time that I was in need, the only person I expected to help me, he did not help me. He did not offer it, no matter how I worded it. And now I hold so much anger to that person. And I said to him, so you said that you gave this to him, you helped him so many times without ever expecting, but you did. And he says, but I didn't. I'm like, but you did. He said, no, it's just that that's the person that I thought would help me. So you did. When we help others, please understand that if you're truly doing it without ever expecting anything in return, it doesn't matter how hard you're going through right now. It doesn't matter if you're about to lose your house, lose your car, lose your husband or wife. It does not matter. You should not expect anything from anyone. But more than likely, the least person that you expect to help you will help you. And that right there is called God's work. That right there is called Christ's blessing. Because the people you expect to be there for you because of what you've done will not. But the person that you never expected will. And that is part of life. That's part of life's lessons, part of growing up. Right? So when we say we give without expecting, do you truly give without expecting? Do you, if tomorrow you lost everything, that person that you helped over and over again, do you expect them to help you? If the answer is yes, if the answer is that it will hurt your feelings and make you upset with them, then you're not truly giving as a follower of Christ. Charity sees the need, not the cause. Right? How many of us have passed homeless people and completely ignored them because we think they're going to use an alcohol, right? Or drugs? It is not our place to determine that. Who are we to determine what these people do? It is our place as followers of Christ. I don't even want to use the word Christian. I want to use the follower of Christ, follower in his actions, that we do not determine who we're going to help based on what we think they're going to do. It is their choice to do what it is right for them, but it's our moral obligation to do what we feel is right, regardless of what we think the person is going to do with it. Then a doctor of the law stood up and said to him, in order to test him, "Master, what must I do to possess eternal life?" Jesus answered him, "What is it that is written in the law? What have you read in it?" He responded to him, "You should love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." Jesus said to him, "You have answered well. Do so, and you shall live." Think about that, right? He focused on how we should love God. But the last thing he said was our neighbor. However, wanting to appear to be righteous, the man said to Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" And Jesus answering said to him, "A certain man was coming down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell into the hands of thieves, who stripped him of his clothes, covered him with wounds, and left him half dead. Afterward, it just so happened that a priest was coming down by the same way, and having noticed him, passed him by the other side. A Levite also came to the same spot, saw him, but passed by it on the other side. But when a Samaritan, who was on a journey, came to where the man was and saw him, he was touched with great compassion. He approached him and poured oil and wine on his wounds and bandaged him. And putting him on his own animal, took him to an inn and cared for him. The following day, he took 2 silver coins and gave them to the innkeeper, saying, "Take good care of this man, and whatever more you spend, I will repay you when I return." Which of these 3 seem to you to have been the neighbor of the one who fell into the hands of the thieves? The doctor of the law responded to him, "The one who showed compassion on him." And Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." Right? See, this is another example where you could be the most intelligent person. You could be a doctor in this doctrine. You can know every parable. You can know every teaching. But if you are not putting into practice this supreme intelligence you have, then how intelligent are you? See, what Jesus is trying to teach here is that the moral value that's in your heart is what really guides you. Not our pride, not our ego, not our intelligence, anger, but our compassion, morality, love. And love for those who we do not even know. In this parable, it shows that someone who did not believe in God, someone who's not a follower, was the one to help him. A priest who knows better than anybody else completely ignores him. So we as Christians, followers of Christ, we tend to do the same thing. We tend to ignore those that we shouldn't. We tend to bypass those who need us. Because someone who may not believe in anything will be the nicest person and help that person out and guide them. What does that show us? regardless of religion, regardless of belief system, the moral values of each person are within their own limits and can be expanded if they choose so. It does not matter what you study. What matters is what you do and what feels right in your spirit and heart. He who wished to secure the good of others has already secured his own, Confucius. Right? I mean, how deep is that? I think Confucius is really confusing sometimes, but some of his teachings are very powerful, right? You secure the good of others, you secure the good of yourself. All of Jesus' morals are summed up in charity and humility, that is, in the two virtues contrary to selfishness and pride. In all his teachings, he points to these two virtues as being the way to eternal happiness. Blessed are the poor in spirit, he said, meaning the humble, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the pure in heart. Blessed are the meek and peace-loving. Blessed are the merciful. Love your neighbor as yourself. Do unto others what you want them to do unto you. Love your enemies. Forgive offenses if you yourself want to be forgiven. Practice the good without ostentation. And judge yourself before you judge others. If you were to analyze each of these quotes, they're so deep, so full of meaning, so full of love. Because as we are human, we are in this stage of evolution. We all are going through these trials. Each of those are trials for each and every one of us when you really look at them. Because how many can say, you love your enemies? I think probably one of the hardest things right there. And then forgive offenses. But when you try to look at it this way, each and every one of us wants God to forgive us for every offense that we commit every day, because we all commit offenses every day. But we say we cannot forgive. Isn't that being like kind of a hypocrite? We can't forgive, but we want God to accept us in heaven. We can't forgive, but we want God to love us and forgive us every day. What are we asking for? Right? So when we think about forgiveness, we should really think is, if we want God to forgive us, shouldn't we at least try our best? Keyword is try, to forgive those who have hurt us. Because if we at least try, we are making progress. If we at least try, we're moving forward. And then we could feel in ourselves that, hey, our Father's going to forgive us, and I'm trying to forgive the ones who have hurt me. You're making a concerted effort. And by all means, practice the good with ostentation, right? As the little story I gave you before, which is a real story that happened a few weeks ago. You give, please don't ever expect from any other person that you give to give it right back to you at the worst time. Just keep praying. Keep doing your best. And believe you me, I have seen it so many times, and I'm so young, I'm 36, where God has brought a person to me that I would not even expect for their ever to help me. And that would be the person to help me on more than one occasion. So I could tell you, don't expect from others. Be a good person as the best as you could be. Keep praying, keep trying to be morally better, and you will get the help that you require. Just may not be from who you expected, right? Humility and charity are the things Jesus never ceased to recommend, and for which he himself gave example. Pride and selfishness are the things he never ceased to combat, but he did more than recommend charity. He put it in clear and explicit terms as an absolute condition for future happiness. You know, one of the things that I would like for everyone here to take away from this talk today, incarnated, disincarnated, is charity just means love. Charity means just loving those, treating those the way you want to be treated. Charity is the way you want God to treat you, in the simplest form, right? And that with that charity, you would notice that your life will be different. Because when you leave this earth to lead to the spiritual world, think of it this way. Everything that you've done in this life, materially, doesn't count. What you did morally does count. And that's what you take with you more than anything else. But having found out that he had put the Sadducees to silence, the Pharisees got together, and one of them, who was a doctor of the law, came to ask this question of him in order to test him. Master, what is the greatest commandment of the law? Jesus replied, you should love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. That is the greatest and first commandment. And there's a second, which is similar to the one. You should love your neighbor as yourself. This quote was done twice in this chapter, and that's why I put it twice in this presentation. That's how important this emphasis is about loving your neighbor and loving God. All things are perceived in the light of charity, and hence on the aspect of beauty, for beauty is simply reality seen with the eyes of love. Right? See that mirror right there, right? Imagine that every time you give to somebody, give it to yourself. And that's why I put that there, right? Think about how deep that is. If you were to pass by every homeless person and you saw your face, you'd probably be given to that person, wouldn't you? And real charity doesn't care if it's tax deductible or not. You know, it's like right now, this center, we survive on charity, right? And it is tax deductible, and it does help you at the end of the year. But if that's the only reason you're doing it, you're still not doing it for the right reasons. Though we still appreciate it, but but it's still not the right reasons. And this right here, just doing love, charity, taking the shoes of his own foot to give to the next person that needs it. You know, keep calm and love your neighbor. Simple, right? Simple yet hard in practice. There's so many things that Christ has taught us. Not just Christ. If you really think about it, many other influential people in this world, right? Gandhi, right? So many different leaders have taught very simple concepts, but it's very hard to put in practice when your pride is in the way, when your ego's in the way, when your hatred and anger is in the way. Simple concepts, yet hard to put in practice. But they're only hard because we allow it to be hard. They're only hard because we want to be the one on top. We want to be the smart one, the strong one, the one that always wins. And when we do that, that's why these simple teachings that any person with any level of intellectuality could understand and put into practice. But because of our intelligence, because of our pride, we don't allow to put these simple concepts into practice. Peace is the work of justice indirectly, insofar as justice removes the obstacles to peace. But it is the work of charity, love directly, since charity, according to its very notion, causes peace. So let's talk about the need for charity. Even if I were to speak all the languages of men and the language of the angels themselves, if I did not have charity, I will only be like a sounding gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I were to have the gift of prophecy and grasp all the mysteries, if I had a perfect knowledge of all things, if I had all the faith possible to the point of moving mountains, if I did not have charity, I would be nothing. And if I were to distribute my belongings to feed the poor and deliver my body to be burnt, if I did not have charity, none of this would be of any of use to me. Charity is patient. It is kind. It is benevolent. Charity is not envious. It is not rash or hurried. It is not full of pride. It is not scornful. It does not look after its own interest. It does not take offense or become upset by anything. It does not suspect evil. It does not rejoice in injustice, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things. Now, these three virtues remain: faith, hope, and charity. But among them, the most excellent is charity. In some translations, this word is love. But love and charity, synonymous. They mean the same thing, right? And think about it. Paul in Corinthians said this. He knew that. He was one of the, or actually the smartest teacher of the law when he was Saul instead of Paul. And he, with all that intelligence, knew that love and charity was the only route, the only way to move forward, right? That is called sublime happiness, in my opinion. If you could be that intelligent and that morally upright, you truly have everything in this life, because you have the moral values and intelligence together. Do more than belong. Participate. Do more than care. Help. Do more than believe. Practice. Do more than be fair. Be kind. Do more than forgive. Forget. Do more than dream. Work. Very simple yet noble words by William Author. Right? Remember, all the studies that you're learning, that you're hearing today, that you already know, that you already studied, without practice, without putting it into play, what does it really mean? It means you have a good understanding of the gospel and what Jesus wants from you, but you're just there listening and not doing, right? It's like work. You could be one of the smartest workers, but you're not doing anything for your job. They're gonna fire you, right? Same thing with, not let's say with spiritism, but with charity, right? You could be as intelligent as you want, but then when you leave and you get up there and they say to you, so what did you do with this knowledge? Nothing. So you did nothing while you were there. Good. Right? But now we know better. Let's do something with it. Let's be positive and move forward. But how shall we expect charity towards others when we are uncharitable to ourselves? Charity begins at home. It's the voice of the world, yet in every man his greatest enemy, and as it were, his own executioner. That's pretty deep. So many of us say, well, we do buy ourselves everything we want. We live where we want to live. But are we treating our bodies with respect? Are we treating our mind with love? Are we treating our loved ones who live with us with the same respect and love that we expect? Or are we so aggravated by the person next to us that we love them, but we will fight with them every day, all day? Because that is how life has become. That's not being charitable, right? That is a violent relationship right there. So be charitable with yourselves means be charitable with the ones who are closest to you, because sometimes the ones that are closest to you are the ones you hate the most, right? And change, it takes two people, but if one does not start first, change will not happen. Change never happens with two people trying at the same time. That's just how the way life works. Change happens with one person first. And that one person may have to try a week, a month, a year, a decade. But change will happen. Do not expect the other person to change. Just do your best to be that example. And that's the end of the presentation. Lord, thank you for allowing us to be here today. Those who are incarnated and disincarnated. Thank you for blessing us with this knowledge, Lord. And we ask you, we beg of thee, that you encourage us on a day-to-day basis to put into action what we learn, to put into action what we read, and to really treat others the way we expect to be treated. Lord, continue to bless the center. Please provide the center with what it needs to continue the good work it's doing, to help those who are in need, those who come for blessings, those who come for moral support. Thank you. So be it.